The Gorthic Marines, clad in sleek, obsidian armor, stepped off their dropship onto the rugged terrain of the planet Jiroth 7. A vibrant aurora flickered in the darkening sky, casting eerie shadows over the twisted trees and jagged rocks. Each Marine surveyed their surroundings with keen eyes, their senses heightened by the reports filtering through their comms. An unknown entity had disrupted supply lines, leaving destruction in its wake. Squad leader Zarnak adjusted his helmet's visor, scanning the dense underbrush. "Intel suggests we've got a deathworlder in the area," he said, voice steady but laced with intrigue. "Keep your guard up. This planet is hostile to all life, and we're not alone." "Deathworlder," muttered Grith, the squad's tech specialist, his eyes wide with curiosity. "I've read about them. Creatures that survive against all odds, defying the harshest environments. Sounds like a myth." Zarnak shot him a look. "Legends can be dangerous. Remember what happened on Vikelmine." The squad fell silent, recalling their last mission where overconfidence had nearly cost them their lives. As they moved deeper into the jungle, the cacophony of alien wildlife surrounded them. Howls echoed from the treetops, while the ground trembled underfoot, hinting at the larger predators lurking below. Suddenly, a series of thunderous roars cut through the symphony of sounds. Zarnak raised a fist, signaling the squad to halt. "What was that?" whispered Kayla, the sharpshooter, her eyes narrowing as she peered into the shadows. "Could be the Deathworlder, or it could be something worse," Zarnak replied, his instincts sharpening. "Let's move toward the sound, but keep it quiet." The squad advanced, creeping through the dense foliage. Each step was calculated, their hearts racing with adrenaline. They soon reached a clearing, and what they saw made their jaws drop. In the center stood a massive predator, scales glistening like polished obsidian, its gaping maw revealing rows of jagged teeth. Yet, the creature was not alone. A solitary figure was locked in combat with it. Alex, a human with fierce determination etched on his face. He wielded a makeshift spear, a crude weapon, but his skill was undeniable. The Marines watched, mesmerized, as Alex darted around the beast with agility that belied his size. He struck with precision, aiming for the creature's vulnerable spots, and for a moment, he appeared to have the upper hand. But the predator, enraged and relentless, swung its massive tail, slamming Alex into the ground. "Is he?" Kayla gasped, her hand twitching toward her weapon. "Hold your fire," Zarnak ordered, a strange mix of awe and horror flooding his senses. "Let's see what he does." With a fierce growl, Alex pushed himself up, gritting his teeth against the pain. In that moment, the creature lunged again, hand in a swift motion. Alex lost his arm, the severed limb falling to the ground with a sickening thud. Gasps echoed through the Marines' comms, but what happened next defied all reason. Instead of collapsing, Alex roared in defiance, his face a mask of rage and determination. With his remaining arm, he grabbed the spear, now slick with his own blood, and charged the beast, refusing to back down. The Marines exchanged glances, their minds racing. They had come to expect violence, but this was something else entirely, something raw and primal. "What is he?" Grith whispered, captivated by the sheer willpower displayed before them. "A deathworlder," Zarnak said, realization dawning on him, and perhaps the fiercest one yet. The Marines, usually so confident in their superiority, found themselves captivated by the human's tenacity. They were about to witness a battle that would redefine everything they thought they knew about strength and survival. As the last echoes of the predator's death faded into the jungle, the Gorthic Marines remained hidden, processing what they had just witnessed. They had come to Jiroth 7 expecting to observe the infamous Deathworlder, but the sight of Alex fighting against the monstrous creature had turned their mission on its head. Kayla, the squad's sharpshooter, was the first to break the silence. "Did you see that? He kept fighting even after losing a limb. That's not something you see every day." Zarnak nodded, his mind racing. "I've never seen such tenacity. We need to assess his condition and figure out what drives him. But we must be cautious. We don't know how they'll react to us." Grith, the tech specialist, peered through his scope, still processing the implications of Alex's survival instinct. If he can take on a creature like that alone, he might be more valuable than we anticipated. But we should approach him carefully. As the Marines discussed their next move, Alex lay on the ground, the pain of his injuries coursing through him. He could feel the warmth of blood pooling around his stump, but the adrenaline kept him alert. His gaze darted around, taking in the surroundings and searching for any signs of danger. The last thing he wanted was to be ambushed again. Slowly, he began to push himself up, using his remaining arm to steady himself. The world around him was a blur, but he forced himself to focus. "Stay sharp," he whispered to himself. "You're not done yet." As he took stock of his surroundings, Alex sensed something, an unseen presence lurking in the shadows. He could feel eyes on him, though he saw nothing. Instincts honed by years of survival on Earth kicked in, and he moved cautiously, ready to defend himself at a moment's notice. Meanwhile, the Gorthic Marines were formulating a plan. Zarnak led the group, whispering orders. "We need to check on him, but we have to do it discreetly. Approach him slowly and make sure he knows we're not a threat." The Marines advanced through the dense foliage, careful to remain silent. They split into two groups, flanking Alex, who was now scanning the jungle for movement. Each Marine was acutely aware of the risks involved. If Alex mistook them for enemies, the consequences could be deadly. As they approached, Grith activated his scanner, trying to gather data on Alex's injuries. "We need to get him stabilized," he murmured. "If he's anything like the legends say, he'll be an invaluable ally. But he needs medical attention." Suddenly, a rustle echoed through the trees, causing both Alex and the Marines to tense. Without hesitation, Alex spun around, instincts kicking in as he prepared to fight. The Gorthic Marines froze, unsure whether to intervene. Then, from the underbrush, a group of smaller predators emerged, sleek, agile creatures with glinting eyes and sharp claws. They had been drawn to the scent of blood and the chaos of the earlier battle. Zarnak reacted quickly, raising his weapon. "Get ready," he shouted, his voice echoing through the trees. "We'll have to protect him." But Alex was already in motion. Fueled by the adrenaline of the previous fight and the primal urge to survive, he lunged at the closest creature, using the remains of his branch as a weapon. With a swift swing, he dispatched the first predator, his movements fueled by a feral rage. The Gorthic Marines exchanged looks of shock and admiration. "He's incredible," Kayla breathed, instinctively firing at another predator that tried to flank Alex. Zarnak and Grith joined in, firing their weapons as Alex continued to fend off the attackers with an intensity that left them in awe. In a matter of moments, the creatures lay defeated, and silence returned to the jungle. Breathing heavily, Alex turned to face the Marines, his expression a mixture of defiance and exhaustion. "Who are you?" he demanded, gripping his makeshift weapon tightly. "Why are you here?" Zarnak stepped forward, lowering his weapon in a gesture of peace. "We're not your enemies. We're here to help. We witnessed your fight and—" "Help?" Alex interrupted, his voice edged with skepticism. "I've seen what help looks like. What do you want from me?" Zarnak met his gaze steadily. "We want to understand you, to ally with you. Together, we could face the greater threats on this planet. You're not alone anymore." Alex hesitated, his heart pounding in his chest. For the first time, the weight of his solitude began to lift. But trusting others had never been easy. "And why should I believe you?" "Because we saw your strength," Zarnak replied, his voice earnest. "And we want to fight alongside you, not against you. We can protect each other." In that moment, a flicker of hope ignited within Alex. Perhaps this was the chance he had long sought. A chance to fight not just for survival, but for something greater. "All right," he finally said, lowering his weapon slightly. "Let's see what you've got." As the unlikely alliance began to form, the jungle around them stirred, heralding the trials they would face together. The dust settled slowly in the clearing, mingling with the heavy scent of blood and foliage. Alex lay sprawled beside the massive predator, his chest heaving, the remnants of adrenaline coursing through his veins. The Gorthek Marines, still in shock from the battle they had just witnessed, exchanged uncertain glances, each grappling with the enormity of what had transpired. "Is he alive?" Kayla asked, peering through the foliage, concern etched across her features. Zarnak stepped forward, his instincts overriding the apprehension that had held them back. "We need to check on him," he said, motioning for the squad to follow. "He might need medical assistance." As they approached, the Marines took in the scene. Alex, bloodied and battered, yet alive. His face was twisted in pain, but there was a spark of defiance in his eyes. Zarnak knelt beside him, lowering his voice to a reassuring murmur. "We're here to help. Just hold on." Alex turned his gaze toward the squad, confusion flashing across his features. "You saw that?" His voice was ragged, but it held an undercurrent of curiosity. "Why didn't you help?" "Because we had to see what you could do," Zarnak replied, genuinely impressed. "You fought like a warrior. We didn't want to interfere." Alex's brow furrowed as he processed the Marine's words. "You let me fight that thing alone." Pain surged through him as he shifted, and he grimaced. "I could have died." Zarnak's expression softened. "We didn't expect you to fight with such tenacity. You're remarkable. We're here now. Let us help you." He gestured to Grith, who produced a medical kit from his pack. With deft movements, Grith approached, eyes wide with admiration. "I've never seen anything like that," he said as he began to assess Alex's injuries. "You're tougher than most beings I've encountered. Losing a limb and still fighting. That's incredible." "Not incredible enough," Alex replied, gritting his teeth as Grith cleaned the wound. "I should have been smarter. I was lucky." "Luck isn't what got you through that fight," Zarnak countered, his voice steady. "It was skill and willpower. Not many beings would have faced that creature, let alone taken it down." As Grith worked, Alex's anger and frustration slowly gave way to exhaustion. "I didn't have a choice," he muttered. "It was either me or it. That's how it always is on my planet." The Marines listened intently, realizing they were learning from the very being they had come to observe. Alex shared stories of his world, of constant threats and the unforgiving nature of survival. Each tale was filled with harrowing details, the struggle for existence woven into the fabric of humanity. The atmosphere shifted as they spoke, moving from tension to a fragile camaraderie. Zarnak felt a connection forming, a mutual respect that transcended their differences. "We all have our battles," he said. "You fought valiantly today, but you don't have to face them alone anymore." Alex looked up, surprise flickering in his eyes. "What do you mean?" "Let us help you. We're better together," Zarnak replied, gesturing to the squad. "If you're willing, we can work together to confront the larger threats on this planet. We need each other." Alex's expression softened, the weight of loneliness lifting slightly. "I've always fought alone," he admitted, vulnerability creeping into his voice. "But maybe I could use the help." As Grith finished bandaging Alex's stump, a sense of resolve filled the clearing. The Marines extended their hands, offering not just assistance but the promise of solidarity. They had entered this mission expecting to scout a deathworlder, but they were walking away with an ally, a warrior who embodied the very essence of resilience. Zarnak stood, extending a hand to Alex. "What do you say? Shall we forge an alliance?" After a moment's hesitation, Alex grasped Zarnak's hand firmly, a spark igniting in his chest. "I'd like that." And in that moment, a bond was formed, destined to be tested in the trials ahead. As the Marines helped Alex to his feet, the jungle around them seemed to pulse with newfound energy. With each step, the pain in his remaining arm served as a reminder of his loss, but the support of the Gorthik squad began to anchor him, replacing despair with determination. Zarnak led the way, his keen eyes scanning the thick foliage for potential threats. "We need to find a safe location to regroup and plan our next move," he said. "This planet isn't just filled with predators. There are other factions that may see us as easy targets, like the ones who ambushed me earlier." Alex replied, keeping pace with the Marines. "What do you know about them?" "They're a ruthless alien faction known as the Karish. They'd been expanding their territory, exploiting any weakness they find," Zarnak explained, glancing back at Alex. "They won't take kindly to us teaming up. We'll need a strategy if we're to confront them." As they ventured deeper into the jungle, the air grew thick with humidity, and the sounds of the wild intensified. The Marines moved with practiced precision, navigating the underbrush while ensuring Alex remained within their protective formation. The bond forming between them grew stronger, each member recognizing the value of the alliance. They eventually found a small clearing encircled by dense trees, where they could rest and strategize. Zarnak signaled for the squad to set up a perimeter while Grith began unpacking their gear. "This spot will do for now. Let's catch our breath and figure out our next steps," Zarnak said, scanning the area for threats. Alex settled against a tree, grateful for a moment of respite. "So what's the plan?" he asked, wiping sweat from his brow. Kayla stepped forward, her eyes bright with determination. "We need intel on the Karish. They're likely based in a nearby settlement where they gather supplies and recruit new fighters. We'll need to gather information before launching any assault." Grith chimed in, his enthusiasm infectious. "I can use my tech to hack into their systems. If we can get access to their communications, we might learn their numbers and strengths." "Good idea," Zarnak nodded. "But it will be dangerous. We'll need a distraction to draw their attention while Grith works." "Alex, how familiar are you with stealth tactics?" Alex's brow furrowed as he considered the question. "I've had to rely on stealth to survive. I can create distractions and navigate through hostile environments." "Perfect," Zarnak replied, feeling a surge of confidence in their plan. "We'll send you in to create chaos while we stay hidden, ready to provide backup if necessary. Once we have the intel, we can strategize our attack." A flicker of excitement danced in Alex's chest, momentarily pushing aside the pain. "Let's do it," he said, determination flooding his voice. "I won't let you down." As the Marines outlined the plan, Zarnak couldn't shake the feeling that they were forging something greater than just an alliance. They were building a friendship, a camaraderie that transcended their differences. However, a shadow lingered at the edges of his mind. The Karish would not take kindly to intruders, and their brutality was well known across the galaxy. "Remember," Zarnak warned, looking each squad member in the eye, "we're entering dangerous territory. Trust one another, but stay alert." With the plan in place, the squad began preparing for the mission. They shared their skills and stories, fostering a sense of unity that was palpable in the air. Laughter mingled with the sounds of the jungle, and for the first time since landing on Jiroth 7, Zarnak felt a sense of hope. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the jungle floor, they knew the real battle lay ahead. But united in purpose, they felt ready to face whatever challenges awaited them, determined to protect one another and conquer the threats of this hostile world together. Night fell across Jiroth 7, wrapping the jungle in darkness punctuated by bioluminescent flora that glowed softly, casting an ethereal light on the clearing. The Gorthik Marines and Alex settled around a small fire they'd managed to ignite, its warmth creating a comforting cocoon amidst the oppressive heat of the night. The mood shifted from tense preparation to one of camaraderie, laughter bubbling up as they shared stories of their respective worlds. "Back on Earth, we don't have creatures that can rip your arm off, but we do have some pretty crazy wildlife." Alex began, leaning forward, his eyes reflecting the flames. We have bears that can outmatch even the largest predators here. But the scariest thing, it's the insects. You think you faced danger. Try a swarm of locusts or a few hundred mosquitoes at dusk. They'll take you down faster than a wild beast. The Marines laughed, the tension of the upcoming mission momentarily forgotten. Grith, his curiosity piqued, asked, "What's a bear like? Is it as terrifying as those things you fought today?" Alex grinned, the memory of his past bringing warmth. Not quite. Bears are big and powerful, but they're mostly solitary. They'll avoid you if they can. It's the unexpected encounters that get you, like hiking in the woods and realizing you're between a mother bear and her cubs. Kayla chimed in, her laughter infectious. That sounds like the time we faced down a pack of Selthors on Tursk 5. Those creatures hunt in packs and have a knack for flanking. You should have seen Grith. He thought he could scare them off by making loud noises. Let's just say it didn't go well for him. Grith's face flushed with embarrassment, but he took it in stride. Hey, I was just trying to distract them. I didn't know they were so stubborn. Zarnak smiled, his heart swelling with a sense of belonging. That's the spirit. We've all faced our own horrors, but we've come through it stronger. And now we're stronger together. As the conversation flowed, Alex began to share deeper stories, revealing the hardships of surviving on Earth. My world is a death world in its own right. From a young age, you learn that survival is everything. Food is scarce, predators are everywhere, and the environment is unforgiving. You either adapt or perish. The Marines listened intently, their respect for him deepening. How do you manage? Zarnak asked. It sounds exhausting. Alex shrugged, a shadow crossing his features. You learn to find hope in small things, a good meal, a friend, even just a clear sky. It's what keeps you going, no matter how tough it gets. Hope is powerful, Zarnak replied, his voice thoughtful. On our homeworld, we have rituals that remind us of our purpose. It's how we bond and maintain our spirit. Perhaps we can create a ritual of our own tonight to honor our alliance. What do you have in mind? Alex asked, intrigued. Zarnak thought for a moment, then smiled. Let's share a token from our worlds, something that represents us and what we stand for. We can exchange them as a symbol of our newfound alliance. The idea resonated with the group, and one by one, they began to share their tokens. Grith offered a small, intricate device he had fashioned, a symbol of innovation and ingenuity. Kayla presented a carved piece of bone from a creature she had defeated, representing strength and resilience. When it was Alex's turn, he hesitated, glancing down at his severed arm, a pang of loss hitting him. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small worn compass, its surface scratched and faded. This belonged to my father, he explained. It's a reminder to always find my way, no matter how lost I feel. It represents hope and direction. As the fire crackled, they exchanged tokens, each item a testament to their individual struggles and triumphs. In that moment, they solidified their alliance, a tapestry of cultures woven together by shared experiences and mutual respect. As the night wore on, the stories flowed freely, laughter punctuating the darkness. They were no longer just a squad of Marines and a solitary deathworlder. They were a team, bound by the understanding that together, they could face any challenge that lay ahead. As dawn broke over Jiroth 7, the first rays of sunlight pierced through the dense canopy, illuminating the clearing with a warm golden glow. The Marines and Alex, invigorated by the night's bonding, gathered to finalize their plan for infiltrating the Karish stronghold. The air buzzed with anticipation and purpose, the camaraderie forged in the darkness now a powerful motivator. Zarnak stood at the center of their makeshift strategy table, a map spread out before them, detailed with their observations of the enemy's territory. The Karish settlement is just beyond this ridge, he pointed, tracing the route with his finger. We need to avoid direct confrontation with their patrols. The last thing we want is to alert them to our presence before we gather intel." Alex leaned in, studying the map closely. "What if I create a distraction? I can draw the patrols away from the main area, giving you time to slip in unnoticed. My experience with stealth could come in handy here." Grith nodded enthusiastically. "You're right. If you can lure them out, I can hack their communication systems from the shadows. Once I have access, we can gather vital intel on their numbers and defenses." Kayla's eyes sparkled with determination. "I'll take position at a vantage point nearby to provide cover. If anything goes wrong, I can pick off any stragglers before they alert the rest of the settlement." Zarnak felt a surge of pride in his team. Each member was stepping up, willing to risk everything for one another. "That's the plan, then. Alex, you'll lead the diversion. Stay agile and out of sight. We'll be watching from a distance." As they discussed tactics, Alex felt a mix of nerves and exhilaration. He had faced challenges alone for so long, but now he was part of something greater. "Just tell me where to go and when to act. I'll get them moving in the opposite direction," he said, confidence building within him. Once the plan was solidified, the group shared final preparations, checking weapons, ensuring their gear was secure, and mentally preparing for the mission ahead. Zarnak took a moment to look around, appreciating the strength they'd built together. "Remember, we're stronger united. Trust each other, and we'll prevail." As they set out, the jungle seemed alive with anticipation. The sounds of wildlife thrummed in the background, a symphony that both calmed and heightened their senses. They navigated the dense underbrush, moving quietly through the foliage, the weight of their mission pressing on them. Upon reaching the ridge overlooking the Karish settlement, the Marines crouched low, hidden among the trees. Alex's heart raced as he scanned the area below. Crude structures made from scavenged materials, flickering lights from sentry towers, and the unmistakable movements of armed Karish patrols. "Looks like they're not as organized as we feared," Kayla whispered, her eyes sharp as she observed the patrol patterns. "But we need to act fast. They're bound to have lookout spots." Alex nodded, adrenaline pumping through his veins. "I'll move down towards that cluster of rocks." He gestured to a nearby outcrop. "Once I'm in position, I'll create a disturbance. Yell, throw something, whatever it takes to draw their attention." "Be careful," Zarnak cautioned, his voice low but steady. "If you need backup, signal us. We'll be ready." With a deep breath, Alex slipped into the underbrush, his movements silent as he approached the rocks. The thrill of danger surged through him, the familiar adrenaline pushing away his fears. He positioned himself behind the outcrop, his heart racing as he waited for the right moment. Back at the ridge, the Marines watched, anticipation palpable. Zarnak felt a sense of pride swell within him. Alex had truly become one of them. "Stay alert," he whispered, scanning the area for any sign of movement. As Alex prepared to make his move, he glanced back at his newfound allies. This was not just a mission. It was a chance to redefine his purpose, to fight alongside those who had proven themselves worthy companions. With a fierce determination, he readied himself, knowing that the next few moments would determine the course of their alliance, and perhaps their survival. With his heart pounding, Alex crouched behind the rocky outcrop, the sounds of the Karish settlement buzzing in the air. He watched as a patrol moved past, their armored forms weaving between the makeshift structures. The moment felt electric, charged with the potential for chaos and opportunity. Taking a deep breath, Alex recalled his instincts. He had survived on Earth by thinking fast and adapting to the unexpected. He grabbed a fist-sized stone and hurled it toward a nearby clearing, the sound echoing in the stillness. "Hey, over here," he shouted, projecting his voice to carry further. The effect was immediate. Heads turned, and the patrol snapped into action, their attention drawn toward the sound. Alex darted from his hiding place, weaving through the underbrush and keeping low. The Karish reacted instinctively, rushing toward the distraction. leaving the area surrounding the main structures momentarily exposed. From his vantage point on the ridge, Zarnak signaled to Grith and Kayla. "Now," he urged, watching as the Karish focused on Alex. "Let's move." They slipped through the shadows, careful to avoid any stray eyes. Grith had his tech equipment ready, the small device buzzing softly as they approached the outer perimeter of the settlement. "I'll find an access point," he whispered, scanning for any exposed tech that could grant them entry. Kayla kept watch, her keen eyes scanning the area for any signs of danger. "Hurry up, Grith. We don't have much time before they realize the distraction was a ruse." With a determined nod, Grith pointed toward a small panel mounted on one of the larger structures. "There, I can access their communication systems from there." While Grith moved in, Zarnak and Kayla took up positions nearby, ready to react to any approaching threats. Zarnak's pulse quickened with anticipation. The stakes were higher than ever. He could hear distant shouts from the Karish, their confusion evident as they fanned out in search of Alex. As Grith crouched by the panel, he pulled out his device, fingers flying over the screen. "Just a moment," he murmured, focusing intently. "I need to bypass their security protocols. Come on. Come on." Meanwhile, Alex was on the move, darting from cover to cover. He could hear the Karish shouting, their voices growing frantic as they sought him out. "I can't let them regroup," he thought, adrenaline surging through him. In the chaos, he spotted an overturned crate filled with supplies. Without hesitation, he sent it tumbling over the edge, sending cans and gear crashing to the ground, creating a further distraction. The sounds of clattering metal drew even more Karish away from their posts, further thinning their numbers. Perfect, Alex thought, feeling a rush of exhilaration. He had them exactly where he wanted. Back at the ridge, Grith's device beeped, and he looked up, excitement glinting in his eyes. "I'm in. I've accessed their comms." His fingers danced over the screen, navigating through layers of data. Zarnak leaned closer. "What do you see?" "Communications logs, troop movements, supply routes, everything we need," Grith exclaimed, the thrill of the hack sparking in his voice. "There's a shipment coming in soon, but it looks like they're woefully unprepared for an ambush." Kayla's brows furrowed. "How many are we talking?" Grith frowned, scrolling through the information rapidly. "If we time this right, we can hit them hard. It looks like most of their reinforcements are at the far side of the settlement, leaving the central area vulnerable." Zarnak felt a rush of adrenaline. "Then we make our move. Let's regroup with Alex and prepare for the assault." Just then, a rustling in the foliage alerted them. Zarnak instinctively raised his weapon, signaling for silence. "We're not alone," he whispered. The distant shouts of Karish echoed closer, their frantic search drawing nearer. In that moment, the tension reached its peak. The squad knew they had to act swiftly. Alex needed their support, and the opportunity to seize the advantage was now or never. As Zarnak scanned the area, he caught a glimpse of Alex in the distance, still eluding capture, fueled by determination. "Let's move," Zarnak commanded, leading the way. They would not leave Alex to face the Karish alone. Together, they would turn the tide, turning their alliance into a formidable force against the threats lurking in the shadows. With their hearts racing, Zarnak and his squad moved swiftly through the dense jungle, tracking toward where Alex was still creating chaos in the Karish settlement. The sounds of battle were distant but growing louder, interspersed with the shouts of confusion echoing from the enemy patrols. "Alex must be drawing them in closer," Zarnak said, urging his team forward. "We need to capitalize on that. Let's get to him before the Karish realize what's happening." Grith kept pace, glancing at the data still flashing on his device. "I have their communication lines open. If we can make a loud enough noise, I can disrupt their signals and sow more confusion." Kayla nodded, her grip tightening on her weapon. "We need to coordinate. If we can draw attention away from Alex and create a gap, we can rush in and assist." As they closed in on the settlement, The chaos became more apparent. Alex's distractions had effectively spread the Karish forces thin, but they were regrouping, their growls and snarls growing louder. From a vantage point just outside the settlement's perimeter, Zarnak peered through the underbrush. He spotted Alex, still darting around, using the terrain to his advantage, his remaining arm deftly maneuvering a makeshift weapon, a branch reinforced with scraps of metal. "Now's our chance," Zarnak said, his voice a low whisper. "On my signal, we charge in. Grith, ready your device to disrupt their communications. Kayla, cover us." Grith nodded, fingers poised over the device as they watched the scene unfold. Alex launched another distraction, throwing another object toward a cluster of Karish who were closing in on him. The thud of metal against the ground drew their attention, allowing him a moment to slip away. "Now," Zarnak shouted, and the squad surged forward, racing into the fray. Grith activated his device, a pulse of energy emitting into the air, disrupting the Karish's communications. Confusion rippled through their ranks as they struggled to regain order. Zarnak and Kayla took advantage of the chaos, moving quickly and silently. "Alex," Zarnak called out as he spotted him taking refuge behind a dilapidated structure, panting heavily. "We're here." The look of relief on Alex's face was palpable. "I could use a little backup," he shouted, his voice laced with urgency. With the Karish disoriented and disorganized, Zarnak gestured for Alex to follow him. "Let's flank them and create more confusion. We can draw them to the north side." As they moved, the Gorthok squad fought with precision, taking out straggling Karish patrols with well-placed shots. Kayla provided cover from higher ground, picking off enemies before they could react. "Keep pushing," she shouted, her voice steady as she targeted the nearest Karish warrior. "We need to keep them scattered." Grith's device continued to hum, sending out disruptive pulses that caused chaos among the Karish ranks. They shouted into their communication devices, but it was clear they were struggling to regain control. Fueled by adrenaline, Alex felt empowered as he fought alongside his new allies. He took down a Karish soldier with a swift strike, adrenaline fueling his every move. "This is what I've been missing," he thought, exhilarated by the camaraderie. As they pressed on, Zarnak spotted the central command post, a makeshift structure where Karish leaders were trying to coordinate their efforts. "That's our target," he shouted, pointing toward the command post. "We take that out, and we can disrupt their entire operation." Together, they made a final push, moving as one cohesive unit. Zarnak led the charge, with Alex at his side, both warriors fighting as if they were born to it. They burst into the command post, weapons raised, and the Karish within had no time to react. "Hands up," Zarnak bellowed, his voice booming with authority. "You're outnumbered." The Karish hesitated, glancing at each other in confusion and fear. The tide had turned. With the Marines and Alex united, they had taken control, shattering the enemy's resolve. In that moment, the realization washed over them. They had fought not just for survival, but for something far greater, an alliance forged in the fires of adversity, transforming them into a formidable force. The jungle echoed with the sounds of their victory, a testament to the strength that arises when different worlds come together. As the dust settled, Zarnak turned to Alex, a grin spreading across his face. "We did it. Together." Alex smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "I never thought I'd find allies like you. This feels like a new beginning." As they stood amidst the remnants of battle, they knew their journey was just beginning. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united in purpose and bound by the trust they had built. The bond formed here in the heart of Jiroth 7 would guide them through the darkness, lighting the path to a brighter future.